All right, there's the next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, continuing our retro pay-per-view series. It's going to be Survivor Series 1995. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, man. Let's jump into this because there's actually a lot to cover on this one. Um, Kind of an odd year for 1995. Thank God it's coming to an end. I remember saying this when I got my son into watching wrestling and we got into watching all of 1995. I think it was right before this pay-per-view before he asked me, "Can we please just skip to the Royal Rumble 96? I can't take this anymore."
This is
And
the
I
worst year. This is like
it
the worst
is. It really is because it's a shame because Diesel was running at the top of the helm. And it's nothing against what he did. It's just what Vince did as far as keeping him away from top talent. He didn't fight The Undertaker. He didn't fight Bret Hart. They were both kept in shitty feuds to hold them back from the main event. And finally when Vince couldn't do it anymore, he put Bret against Diesel.
year. Yeah, I mean
And it's a shame.
the problem was you don't want to do babyface versus babyface too often. So
No,
couldn't have him face Undertaker and you couldn't have him face Brett too much. So they fought at the Royal Rumble and then they fought at Survivor Series.
and at Survivor Series, even before the match, you could tell that the heel process was starting.
Hmm.
So let's jump right into it. November 19th, 1995, from Landover, Maryland. 14,500 on hand to watch this. They had a unique match, a wild card match that they had installed in there. I actually kind of liked it. We'll get to that in a minute. Two replacements in this one. So the streak of not having any replacements and a full roster, that's out the window. They did actually have a dark match in this, and they could actually use these guys in the pay per view. The Smoking Guns defeated Public Enemy, who were there for like a cup of coffee. They were totally outed by the WWE roster. I don't know why. I mean, maybe we get into that one day, but these guys came in and they were just totally hated by everybody, and they wound up having to get their release and go back to ECW and then eventually WCW. So our first match was the Underdogs versus the Body Donnas. It was Captain Barry Horowitz along with Marty Jannetty, Hakushi, and it was supposed to be in this one Avatar, which was a cheesy gimmick done by Al Snow, and I don't even remember it. That's probably how short lived that was. So his replacement was Bob Sparkplug Holly.
Avatar wasn't the Moose Head, right? Was that somebody else?
No, that was Mantar.
Oh, Mantar, yeah.
Another one, another cup of coffee. Seriously, man. Fucking cheesy shit that came
The
out in 1995.
the story behind this was that Bob Holly was upset about his dates. He wasn't getting enough dates, so he wasn't getting enough money, and I guess he was threatening to leave or something like that. They were trying to make him happy, so they pull Al Snow. They pull Al Snow off the card, and they put him in the match. That way, um, Bob Holly gets the pay-per-view money because you got more money when you're on a
Yeah,
pay-per-view. So, and then they told Al Snow, well, he has more seniority in the company than you, so that's just how it
not by
goes.
much, but yeah, he did.
That's what happened.
And to think Holly, he lasted all the way to 2009.
Yeah.
I never saw that when I first saw this guy as Sparky Plug back then. I never thought he was going to last, but he was able to
That was the
morph his
gimmick era.
character into something better.
You had a race car driver, you had a sanitation worker, a hockey
Yeah,
player. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
the hog pen guy,
yeah, it's
the
just
blue blood. You got
bad,
everything
bad,
back
bad,
then.
bad, bad, bad.
Yes, very much. Their opponents was Captain Skip. Oh, Jesus. Rad Radford, body donor in training. Tom Pritchard, and it was supposed to be Jean Pierre Lafitte. The storyline was that he was paid off by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, to relinquish his spot, but in actuality, he actually did have an injury. His replacement was the 1-2-3 kid who had just turned heel the week before on Monday Night Raw when he cost Razor Ramon a match against Psycho Sid. So the kid had turned to the $1 Million Corporation. And Tom Pritchard, this is funny because the last time the Heavenly Bodies were the Heavenly Bodies was like 6 months prior to this. I mean, Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey was already released and out. So they were holding on to Pritchard, and this is the first time since April that they actually used him.
Yeah, well, if I remember this correctly, Del Rey gets fired
Mhm.
because of some stunt that happened with some girl where she got drunk or something and he shaved half her head. and
Yeah, I
then
remember this. I remember hearing that
and
story.
and then Tatanka's like collateral damage because I think Tatanka was with him when it happened, and I think I don't know if she pressed charges. I know it was a big thing. Kevin Nash told the story on one of his podcasts or something, and he said that Tatanka didn't do anything, but he was kind of like in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Yeah,
which is why Tatanka's not on this pay-per-view.
yeah, and then shortly after he was
Yeah. I
gone anyway. I
think
mean, they didn't
he's
really.
gone after the Rumble. I think he's gone, right? Something like
Yeah, unfortunately, no. But we'll get into him eventually. Do an episode on him. But this match actually, I mean, the most successful person on this, unfortunately, I gotta say, is like Marty Jannetty. I mean, Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion. I mean, that's telling you something. I mean,
it's a
opening
good
Survivor
ref.
Series match.
I mean, Marty was a good wrestler. He was just a nut job. But
Yeah.
they we didn't mention Mr. Perfect. This was the return of Mr. Perfect.
Oh yes, my apologies. Vince, Jim Ross, and Mr. Perfect all did the commentary on this. Mr. Perfect returned here, stayed for about I think it was 7 months,
Something
and
like that.
they were doing a storyline with him, and then he just disappeared because he was supposed to come back in the ring. He had screwed Mark Merrow out of the title, helped Triple H win it, and then there was supposed to be a whole thing where the two of them were together, and Merrow was going to face Perfect, and then Perfect just see you.
Yeah, that was the following year, right?
Yeah,
That's what happened. Yeah, I felt like Jim Ross didn't get along with Mr. Perfect on commentary. I felt like
you noticed
there
that,
was
right? Like there
yeah,
was a little vibe there.
yeah.
Anything Perfect said, Ross was attacking it.
Yeah. I had a feeling that they weren't
Oh,
seeing eye
Jim.
to eye.
Well, Jim Ross likes to hog the microphone on commentary, which Vince usually lets him do, and Perfect wasn't
Mhm.
letting that
And
happen because
Perfect, yeah, Perfect had been gone, I think, since he was supposed to fight Lex Luger after WrestleMania.
yeah. So this was
They
a
were
year and a
setting up that
half.
feud, and then nothing ever happened. I don't know if he was still injured or what. I think it was the injury, and he wanted the Lloyd's of London some more insurance money, and so he didn't wrestle. But we all thought he was going to wrestle again in WCW, WWF, I should say at the
I was
time.
kind of hoping he did, man.
It's a shame that, and they teased us the following year, like you said, with the whole he was supposed to fight Triple H that night. Who was
Yep.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and then he
Yeah.
got attacked backstage, and then Mark Merrill came on, and then he betrays Mark Merrill. So then I don't want to get off on this.
It was like it was brief,
Yeah, it was
like a
very
week
brief,
week or two,
and then he was
and then he
gone,
was
and then he
gone. Yeah.
popped up. Then he popped up in WCW like however long later.
Yeah, and then wrestles like it was nothing.
You know, so
So this match, like I said, with the except with the low talent that this was, I mean, it wasn't bad. Pritchard was the first one gone. Holly was to follow almost right after it. I mean, it was quick action. Razor Ramon pops up during this, trying to get to the 1-2-3 kid. It's only fitting that the 1-2-3 kid was the sole survivor in this
and I
because of
didn't.
the build up that they're trying to do with him,
Yeah,
which really wasn't much.
I didn't buy the 1-2-3 kid as a heel. I just didn't.
Not until he was X Pac,
That's what I'm
really.
saying. That's what I'm saying. As X Pac, yeah, NWO or
In
Six Pac,
NWO 6, yeah,
then he becomes X Pac later on when he comes back.
yeah, but
I didn't
not
never
as
bought
this.
him. I mean, I don't know. I didn't get it. I wasn't buying it.
I mean, they build him all the way up to have a crybaby match in February the following year to lose it, and then. But I guess at that
You know,
point he'd already announced that he was too leaving. Because remember, '96,
yeah.
everybody's jumping ship.
I don't know if you caught this on the pay-per-view, and at the time I didn't even know about this, but watching it, I'm like, I can't believe Mr. Perfect just said that. When Marty Jannetty, I think it's when he's going to do the rocker dropper, he says, "Oh, you could break somebody's neck like that." And Marty Jannetty actually did break somebody's neck like that when he was with the Rockers. He broke a jobber's neck, and it
Yeah,
was a big lawsuit years prior. I'm like, why would he say that?
because it's
Maybe,
Kurt Hennig. I don't know.
maybe he forgot, or maybe he was just trying to
I
rig.
think he did. I don't think he was doing that
You don't think he
intentionally.
was messing with Vince? I don't know. He had an interesting sense of humor.
If he was, I wouldn't have seen him. We wouldn't have seen him around that much longer.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, but I caught that. I mean,
yeah.
and again, Janetti looked good in this match. Watching him face 1-2-3 Kid, his former tag team partner in the ring, it was a good high flying action, especially
Yeah.
Hakushi, most underrated guy in this
And now
card.
he's a baby face. I
Yeah,
forgot. You know, I haven't seen this in years. I forgot how
because
Kushi became a baby face.
yeah, with the whole thing with Skip, they
But he's
wanted
in.
him to either be in a Forcer firm or be a body donor. Hakushi said no, and they had
I
jumped
didn't.
him.
I wasn't buying him as babyface either. Didn't work. Didn't work for me,
I
brother.
just liked it. I just liked him as because his style of wrestling was good. I liked it
Yeah.
when he fought Bret Hart, and I just don't think they gave him a chance. You know, everybody else in this card, you don't need to give a chance. You need to give a pink slip and
Yeah.
send him out the door. I mean, Rad Radford, come on.
Janetti does good in this match though. Janetti can
Yes,
wrestle. It's just that
yeah.
you know,
He actually he eliminated Skip right before 1-2-3 Kid because it was a two
yeah.
on one at that point. He eliminated Skip, and then 1-2-3 Kid
And
pins
then
him. Well, thanks to Psycho Sid,
how
who
long?
comes
How
down.
yeah? How long after this is the body Donnas? It's not too. It's not too long, right? Where
No,
they
it's
actually meet
almost
the
like
tag
right
team.
after this that they make Skip and Zip.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
1996 that they were in the tag team title picture with
Yeah,
the Godwins and all of them.
yeah.
Yeah, this was right. I think this was the pay per view to do it because this is the first time in 6 months that they're doing anything with Pritchard.
But Pritchard, yeah, doctor or something. I don't know. If it was a doctor or but whatever. Anyway, moving
I
on.
don't know. Anyway, our next match was the women's Survivor Series match. Now here, this is a fun tidbit for everybody. When Bull Nakano was there, I mean, everybody knows she beat Alundra Blaze for the women's title, and then in the beginning of '95, uh, Alundra Blaze won it back. They hired Bertha Faye to feud with Bull Nakano, and it was because Alundra Blaze was supposed to be taking time off to do plastic surgery on her nose and her breast. Unfortunately, Bull Nakano gets caught with cocaine, and well, you know where I'm going with that. Out the door you go. Surprised she wasn't in jail. So they had to bring Alundra Blaze back for this feud, which I don't think it would have been any better if it was Bull Nakano because Bertha Faye couldn't wrestle worth a damn to begin with. I mean, this was just awful. This was the worst I've ever seen the women's division. And no wonder why when she dumped the title in the trash, it was a while before Vince even wanted to do a women's division because he was unsure of how it was going to go. So
Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly she was supposed to stick around to the Royal Rumble. She was supposed to fight at the Royal Rumble, and then after this she quits, right?
it
Well,
was the
no, no,
following
they closed the division. I don't know if I forget how the story goes. It's either
the
she
following
quit
month she showed up on Nitro.
or they closed the division. I forget what happened.
I think he closed it after
I
the
think he
fact. I
might have,
think
but I
because I
think
mean she still has the title, so
no, but I think she just happened to have it. Like he had it. She just never gave it back. Remember? So I think that I don't know if they closed the division because she left or they were. I think if I remember correctly, it just wasn't working. They didn't have enough
it
talent,
really wasn't.
and so they were gonna close it. And then she took the title and she
They
just
didn't
closed it
have
up.
any women in the division. They had to
No, this match
bring
was
in
garbage.
these women.
This match was terrible.
It was Alundra Blaze, Kyoko Inui. Um, I'm trying to say these right. Uh, Saki Hasegawa and Shaprita Asari. That was her team. Oh boy. Bertha Faye, Aja Kong, Tomoko Watanabe, and Lioness Asuka. They didn't. It wasn't Asuka. I was about to say Asuka. I mean, this match was only 10 minutes, and Aja Kong is the sole survivor, and I really think she did hurt Alundra Blaze when she caught her with that finishing 360
I think
punch. She caught her good on that jaw, man, and she was holding it as she's leaving.
I think Aja Kong was supposed to feud with Alundra Blaze, if I'm remembering this right, later
Going
on
forward, because she
at
had
the
made
Royal
the
Rumble.
notion for the title,
The Royal
and then
Rumble, yeah.
the shit hit the fan with this whole
Yeah.
division, but I mean, it probably would have been better with all the Japanese wrestlers. It would have made sense with Bull Nakano doing it. Obviously, this is what they wanted to do.
It hurt them that these girls like Bull Nakano didn't really speak English. That hurt like the promos and stuff like that. I felt
Yes,
you
it
got to
did.
be able to relate to the. It can't
I
just
mean,
be
even now, Asuka doesn't really do it, but she does
she's
say
very
certain things in
animated though.
English.
She's very
Mm-hmm.
animated and like you know.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
not too long ago she did a whole thing with Io Sky, and they actually put the translation on the bottom. Man, it was classic. People were going nuts over it.
yeah, you got to work around it.
Yeah, but yeah, with Bull Nakano, I remember when Todd Pettingill's interviewing her, and he's just like, "Yeah, okay, well, I don't know what the hell she just said, but let's go back to you." I mean, yeah, it was a huge. At least have a translator there, if anything. The next match was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Goldust, and during this skit, remember they had the lookalike president of President Clinton. and of course he had uh, Bob Backlund there at this point, and then later on they had Sonny. And I remember watching this back then, and I believe this is the only pay per view that they did. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the only pay per view that they did the skit with the president. And I seem to remember that it was IRS at one point was sitting behind them, but not if you watch it now. Like they cut that out.
I don't remember.
So
I don't remember.
I wish I can go back to. I have the original tape, but finding a VCR,
Yeah.
it's like unheard of at this point. But in any event, with this match, this was a squash match pretty much. Goldust just beating Bam Bam Bigelow. And the reason why is this was Bam Bam Bigelow's final match. He had asked for an early release from his contract because he was tired of the backstage politics with the Clique and with the booking and everything else, and he just wanted out. So
Yeah, pretty much.
Vince made him look bad, unfortunately, in this match. I think when he turned, since he turned fan favorite in 1995, he really wasn't doing that well.
No.
I can't see this guy as a fan favorite. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't like when they
even in '88, I couldn't see
I
it.
didn't like when they changed his costume and they had him with that big
It was all
fire.
slapstick stuff. I mean,
This
you
is good.
change his music. He's over there dancing and clapping. I mean, what happened to the badass Bam Bam that we saw for the last few years that went toe to toe with Bret Hart? Unfortunately, had a match with Doink at WrestleMania. But I mean, this guy, he was a good wrestler, and for whatever reason, with the backstage with Shawn Michaels and the guys, he didn't want to take it anymore.
Yeah.
So he leaves.
No, I'm Goldust. They basically this is Goldust. They start pushing Goldust and Goldust.
Oh yeah, because he's undefeated at this point. Because you remember he beat Marty Jannetty.
This is pay per view. Pay per view. This is his debut. Pay per view debut.
No, he had one prior against Jannetty.
Oh, what in your house?
I believe it was. I thought it was SummerSlam.
Was it? Oh,
I could be wrong. I do know he fought Jannetty before this. It doesn't matter what his.
But
they're building him up because because Royal Rumble he goes for the Intercontinental Championship. Yeah. It's weird to see Goldust back then at that point as opposed to when we saw him later on. But I mean, Dustin Rhodes was always a good wrestler. So our next match, I actually enjoyed this because you don't see Undertaker rarely. I think this was the last time we ever saw him in a Survivor Series match. I mean, besides the Alliance thing in 2001, that different case. Not only was he in the Survivor Series match here, but he was in this with his boys, the Bone Street Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of his partners were a member, and with the exception of Yokozuna, was in this match. It was The Undertaker, Savio Vega, Henry Godwinn, and Fatu versus King Mabel, Jerry Lawler, Isaac Yankem, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Man, if you could see in the future in there and see the talent that eventually comes out of this match, oh man, you got Kane, amazing. You got Triple H, you got Rikishi, and you still got Savio Vega and Henry Godwinn.
They got this is when he started Fatu's making a difference.
Man,
that gimmick was bad, dude. That gimmick was bad.
Not as bad as the Sultan. I mean, come on. Which I think they were both.
I think it's worse. I think it's worse. At least the Sultan didn't say anything.
Yeah, now all of a sudden he speaks English. You can wear the boots, no problem. You're not eating carcasses in the Survivor Series.
So this is slightly off topic. So me and my friend Peter used to talk about making a difference. And then years later, we knew this guy. He was older than us. He had vanished. Apparently, he went to Florida, and he came back. And all he was trying to do was like make a difference in the community. And he was always talking to us about don't do drugs and this and that and whatever. And it was like we always used to call him like Fatu because then this is a couple years after the gimmick or whatever. I just thought I'd mention it.
It's not bad that somebody comes back and tries to do that. Something probably happened to them, but I get what you're going with it.
It was just too much. The thing is, our crew of friends, we didn't do drugs or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
like you didn't need to tell us. I guess maybe you were trying to prevent us from going down that path, but we weren't those type of kids.
Dude, we used to call you the Big Boss Man because of your promo that you used to cut every night after work. With the Law, Order, and Justice. Imagine. I wish I had an iPhone back then that they exist. I could have recorded this.
Man. It's good times,
it was a classic promo. In any event, this was actually the Undertaker's also return because you remember at the King of the Ring, which I still can't believe he partaked in. That was weird. Mabel had wound up injuring him supposedly. I mean,
No, it
I
was
don't.
legit. It was legitimate injury.
Oh my bad.
Yeah, no, no, it was
I
legit.
always thought it wasn't. I just thought
Then he
was
almost
taking
killed,
time off.
and then he almost killed Diesel. That was when they were gonna fire him because that was back to back.
That I
You
do
remember?
remember. Yes.
It was the orbital bone. I think he cracked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I honestly I thought he was just taking time off, and this was the
No,
gimmick. But
it was real. That's why
we're
he had the
not.
mask. I know we don't like we didn't know it at the time,
Yeah.
but it was legit. It was legit.
Well, not everybody gets everything right. So, but I mean, well, I love how when he has the mask on, everybody's like, "What the hell?" Mabel was freaked out.
Like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked though. It worked.
It did, and
It worked.
this was a really good match. Once Taker got in the match, this was when I was loving it because Lawler was in the ring. Taker gets tagged in. Lawler goes for the tag. Nobody wants it. He's like, I'm not facing this guy. And Taker just runs through them one after the next. Didn't get his hands on Mabel. Mabel got counted out. I love that
Yeah.
the half ring choke slam, by the way, on Helmsley. That was cool.
He doesn't
But
get his hands on Isaac Yankem either, right? I don't think those two.
yeah, they locked up. He pinned
Oh, he
him.
did?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I didn't know.
he tombstoned him.
Kane and Undertaker preview.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying. If you could see a couple of
Mhm.
years from now what we're going to be in store for, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
I felt bad for those guys that were carrying King Mabel.
Oh God,
Did you see them
yeah.
grimacing? Did you see? Especially one of the guys was
He's
like grimacing.
550
You could
pounds.
tell, like, and I'm like, why would they put these guys through that? Like,
I mean,
Jesus.
if you,
Oh, come on, Vince.
Savage, that's a different story. The guy weighs
Right.
240, 230, 220 even. But I mean, 550 pounds. It's a
Jesus.
good thing Yokozuna wasn't king of the ring.
Yeah.
Forget it. I never understood that, and I've seen that more than once where they've grimaced.
Yeah.
Even at SummerSlam, they almost
Yeah.
dropped him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Mabel's like the hell with this. He runs out. It's a clean sweep. The Dark Side wins. It's
Or
probably the only time Fatu is going to get a pay per view win.
they end up beating up what's his name, the manager,
Sir
Mo.
Mo.
I forget when doesn't he turn on Mo at some point when he turns heel? He turns on Mo, or he
I know
he
it
turned.
was Oscar
It was Oscar. My bad. Yeah,
because
he turned on Oscar.
they had done the whole he turned bad while Mo was out injured because he was doing the singles bit, and then he turned on Oscar when Mo
Yeah,
came back. They turned on Oscar.
not for nothing, man. I like Men on a Mission,
I
and
did too.
they were over too. The
Hmm.
crowd used to sing along with them.
Very much so. I thought
Did
they were
they?
going to win the tag titles at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, I think everybody thought they were going to win the tag titles.
It seemed like that was the time against the Quebecers because their popularity grew fast.
Did they get it and lose it right away, or was it one of those phantom title wins? Because I remember something about them.
Yeah, actually, they did. It was like for a brief minute. If you blinked, it was over. It was actually March 29th, 1994, over in London. They did
That's
win the
it.
tag
That's it.
titles against the Quebecers. 2 days later in Sheffield, they lost them. I
I
don't
was the
understand
I remember
why
now I
they did
remember
that.
this and I was disappointed. I remember being disappointed. Like, why would they do that? Why would they I hate when they do those like those quick switches.
They did the same thing with. Remember when Bret and Owen was supposed to face the Quebecers and Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 kid? They win the tag titles, and then as we're watching Raw, the same time they're having a house show
Yeah.
a couple of miles away. I think it was in
Yeah.
Buffalo,
Uh-huh.
and we find out the Quebecers won the tag
They
titles
wanted the
back.
tags. Stupid.
I don't understand that when they do
I
things
hate
like
when they do
that.
that, man. I hate when they do that. At least they're recognized at least. It's not
Yeah,
like
they are.
it's not like the Rougeau brothers when they won the title, but they don't recognize them. They stripped them. And then the Rockers.
Yeah, that whole fiasco. Oh my
Yeah.
God! I mean,
So
that aggravates me. And when we get to doing the main event thing on that, I'm gonna get into it. But in any event, our next match was the wild card match, and I enjoyed this concept. This was pretty cool. You had heels and baby faces together. And there was really no designated captain on this. It was Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson making his pay per view debut, the British Bulldog, and Psycho Sid, which we know Shawn and Sid have their beef, versus Owen Hart, Yokozuna, Dean Douglas, and Razor Ramon.
yeah.
Oh man, and it's funny because Pettingill's like Cornette? Didn't I see you over when I interviewed Owen Hart? And them goes, no, I haven't seen you all day. And Sid's over there getting all psycho and shit, and DiBiase's telling him don't cross us, and he really didn't because he was in the corner of the Bulldog, who is now deemed the number one contender for the championship. And I thought it was funny uh, going back now, and you catch this, how they kept mentioning during this match, because this was right around the time that Shawn Michaels had to drop the Intercontinental title to Dean Douglas, the whole incident in Syracuse where the Marines beat him down. And what's funny is that the night after this is when he's going to pull the I'm unconscious against Owen Hart. They pulled that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought I see as they're kind of building that up because they keep mentioning it and mentioning it because every time he takes a headshot they're mentioning, well, he got beat down by the Marines. Well, this is because Shawn ran his mouth without Hall and Nash even being there with him. So whatever. It is
So what
what it is.
happens?
This was actually a funny match. Michaels, Johnson, and Bulldog all survived in this one. I don't know about you, but I always used to love when Yokozuna and Shawn Michaels got in the ring. Even
Yeah,
though
'cause
it was big versus small,
no, but
Shawn
that's
could
why it
handle
was good.
himself.
Well, not only that, Sean would take those crazy bumps. So,
Hmm.
he would. But Yokozuna looked terrible in this match. He was
He
so
did. He could
over.
barely move.
He
He
could
was six
barely
forty
move.
one at this point.
Yeah, it was bad. I like the concept of putting the baby faces with the heels. That was a cool concept.
Hmm.
Although I felt like they could have explained it. Like they never actually explained like why it was happening. They should have had
Why they did it? Yeah,
right. Maybe they should
just
have had
something
like
that Gorilla Monsoon put together.
yeah, they should have had like maybe like a drawing. Like okay, and show it like okay, you're on this team, you're on this team, and then them arguing
Exactly.
like
That would
oh
have made sense.
yeah. I think I read somewhere. I could be wrong about this. Again, I could be wrong about this. Don't kill me in the comments. I think I read this was supposed to be they were supposed to bring back the Survivor match, and instead they went with this. I could be wrong about this.
You talking about the grand finale?
Yeah, the grand finale match, which could have been cool, and if you would have had a grand finale mixing it up with heels and baby faces, that would have been something cool. But
Yeah, it would have been 7-on-1. Would have been the Dark Side, Michaels, Bulldog, and Ahmed against the
yeah,
one, two,
yeah,
three
yeah.
kid. Jesus, wow, that would have
Yeah.
been an ass whooping.
Well, those extra guys would have been in the matches, and so you could have.
Yeah.
Who knows? They could have rebooked it. They could have booked it differently, but
I wish they would have brought that back. I really
yeah,
like that grand finale concept. I actually enjoyed it.
yeah.
So I don't know about anybody else.
Did you? No, it was good. It's a shame they didn't bring it back. Did you notice? I didn't understand this part when Bulldog jumps in the ring and misses. He tries to break up the pinfall and he misses,
Yeah,
and they kind of just like look at him, and then he goes back, and then they just do the pin like it never happened.
I'll do you
I
one
don't.
better. Remember when Sid tagged Sean and wanted him
Oh,
to give him the sweet chin music, and he misses, and he goes, "Oh well," and Sean goes back out to the apron, and Sid gets pinned. But
and
Sid
they said
wasn't the
he wasn't
legal.
a legal man, and they were like,
No.
"Oh, yeah, was there a tag? Oh yeah."
And then Ahmed gets in the ring or Bulldog gets in the ring. They were like, "No," and it has to be Sean. And I'm like,
It was a
"But you
mess.
just
It was a
screwed
mess.
that up."
You just screwed it up. Yeah.
I mean, and Sid powerbombing Sean was pretty good.
It was cool.
He took that bump really well.
It was cool seeing Razor and Sean fight each other again. That was
Yeah, and
cool.
he's telling him there's no ladder this time.
Yeah. Even though
And
the idiot cameraman, well, we can't blame the cameraman. Whoever's in
no,
charge of the cameras, like when it's supposed to go to what camera, when
yeah,
they're about to face off, they go to the crowd.
yeah, why?
I don't know if you caught that. They were about
Hmm.
to lock up and then they went to the crowd.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
But
um,
it was fun to see Shawn Michaels gets the sweet chin music on Yoko. Yoko just drops. That ring just bouncing all over the place. Ahmed gets the splash.
Sean was funny
And
too though, with the when he kicks it and he's
oh
like
well.
he's like
And then
back
even
up.
in the beginning of the match when he gets in there, he goes, "Yeah, I'll high five him. You're
Yeah,
loco."
yeah. That was cool. That was good. Good.
But yeah, I love. And then Bulldog decided he wants to turn on his team,
Right,
and then
yeah.
he's gonna raise his hand, and Sean's like, "Get out of here."
And they
So
they did a double clothesline him and Ahmed Johnson, Sean. It was Sean
mhm.
and Ahmed, right?
Yeah, it was good to see, and it's a shame on Ahmed with his career going forward, but whatever.
Yep.
Our main event was a no disqualification match for the WWE title. This is the reason why is because the last time they fought each other, all hell broke loose at the Rumble. They wanted an actual winner
There are
in this match.
not only that, think about King of the Ring 1994
Same thing applied.
with the
Amble
run
gets
in with Jim.
involved.
Yes. So you had the
So
Royal
they've never
Rumble
had, yeah, and
and you
King of
had
the
King of
Ring.
the Ring 94, yeah.
You've never had a clear winner between these two. And what's funny is Diesel is going into this match on a losing streak. So you know he's getting frustrated because he even had a loss to Waylon Mercy coming into this. Was counting out a DQ, that much I
Right. Well,
know.
Well, he wouldn't lose the title, but yeah.
No. So you could tell that the heel process is starting with Diesel in this match. And I mean, this was a almost 25-minute match. This was
Yeah.
amazing between these
It
two.
was, and I like the promos leading up to it. I don't know if you remember they did the interviews. They interviewed Bret. They
The
interviewed
truck stops
Diesel.
here.
Bret's talking about how he didn't get a fair title shot or whatever. That's how he really felt in real life. He felt like they wasted him in '95,
They
which I agree
did.
100%. They put
They
him in stupid
did.
feuds. Yeah, so it was good to see Bret get the shot again. Unfortunately, the Diesel championship never worked. Like Diesel as the babyface champion, they pushed him hard. They pushed him to the moon, and it just didn't work. He was a better heel than he was a
Yes.
babyface, in my opinion. I don't blame him for the business being down. The business was bad across the board. He gets a bad rap saying that he didn't draw. Not his fault. I think it was bad booking.
Look at the opponents he had.
Yeah.
I mean, Mabel, uh, Tatanka. Then he fought. The two chaps with four straps in your house. They wound up botching that up.
Yeah.
It's just he didn't face the top tier talent in WWE because there was no top tier talent in WWE.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a match with Lex Luger would have probably helped his run, but he up and leaves. So, and then you remember Diesel at the end of this match after he attacks Bret after losing. He says, "I'm back." So we
Yeah, because
knew
they were
this was
trying to.
coming.
Yeah, they were starting to turn him heel. There
They
was
should
good
have
spot.
turned him before this match.
Probably.
My opinion.
Probably. Yeah.
But I mean, sending Bret through the table, Bret basically limp can't go anymore, and then he rolls
Bret
him up
was
the small package. I thought that was awesome.
no, it was great. Bret was cheating too, though. Where he hit him with the steel chair. He tied him up with
Tied him with
the
the
cord.
ring.
The
Well, remember
cord.
this was a more aggressive Bret coming back in '95
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
Bob Backlund loss. So this continued throughout, and he knew what he had to do doing this against Diesel, having
They
faced him
always
twice already.
They always told a good story. Bret was the technical guy. Diesel was a powerhouse. The longer the match went, the more it favored Bret because
Yep.
Diesel would run out of gas, no pun intended. This is the first time I believe somebody goes through the Spanish announce table. I think
Yes.
this is the first time and it would be a tradition from that point
Oh
on.
yeah, definitely.
They stole it from Sabu, but whatever.
Whatever.
That was cool to see Bret go. It was a big deal when he got thrown off the apron and he goes to the table. Um, Diesel had him beat. He should just jackknifed him.
Yeah.
Instead, Bret. But you know, they make any sense. Bret plays possum, right? And
hmm
all of a sudden he gets energy and rolls him up, and then Bret is still laying down. Like,
Exactly.
how did you get that energy to roll him up? And then you're like,
And then Diesel cursing him out, and then Jackknife power bombs him twice. Tells everybody
yeah,
I'm back.
yeah,
And this wouldn't be the last time they'll face each other. They'll face each other again at
right,
In Your House in February. But I mean, all in all, this was a great match. Sorry to see the Diesel's reign end like this, considering he got a bad rap for his. Hey, Shawn Michaels did too. We'll get to that when
yeah,
we get
yeah,
96. But Bret Hart, once again, the WWE champion going into WrestleMania season.
yeah. Overall, decent pay per view.
Yes, it was.
The match really solidified the show. The last match,
hmm
Bret versus Diesel. So this is a good pay per view.
Yes.
All right, that's our latest episode. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.